David Anderson. That's Mike Vick. I'm pretty excited to be here with you guys. We got not only us, but we got a superstar guest. We got Eric Dickerson joining the show a little later to talk Rams football, to talk Cooper Kupp breaking records, to talk all the good things. But what we always love to start with, Mike Vick, is our all-in record. Now, 2 weeks ago, I saved us by betting the Eagles over the Giants. And last week, you were right again, picking the Jaguars, the Patriots over the Jags. Big time.
I feel like I'm always picking against the Jags. That's not right, though.
Yeah, that's a cheap shot.
That anymore.
I stretched my neck out a little bit, and I thought that Miami would cover Tennessee. Not even close. Got my teeth kicked in. Tennessee came out and beat the piss out of those boys. It was physical. So this leaves us, because we started this a little late. I'm 6-6. You're 7-5. This is a big week for us. It could be 7-6. I win, we lose. I don't know. We might have to have a push on who does better in the all-in weeks, but we'll definitely run through the offseason. But impressive job, Mike Vick. The Patriots.
I'm picking and choosing wisely. I'll say that.
Yes. Week 17. I'm guessing, it's crazy to say that because that's normally when it ended. But who impressed you last week? What is it? Who really stood out to you? What teams impressed you with their play?
All right, so this might be my day of just making amends with a lot of things that I probably
that sounds about right.
Past. But man, the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
The Cincinnati Bengals against the Kansas City Chiefs. I did not expect Cincy to come out. And even though it was a barn burner type of game, it was back and forth, it was a shootout. They stepped up in times of need. And all the man-to-man coverage that Kansas City tried to play them and just leave everybody with that, they beat it. And Jamar Chase is a special talent. He's a special player. And so the Cincinnati Bengals, they really surprised me this week.
If it wasn't the Bengals, it's got to be the Cardinals. And we talked about both these matchups.
I won't say that. As I thought through it, because I tried to just come with an open mind, it would have been the Green Bay Packers, because regardless of who they playing or who's on the other side, who's playing on the opposition, man, Aaron Rodgers continues to get better and better each and every week, and that's scary.
Yeah. The Packers were impressive. I thought the Raiders came out of nowhere beating the Colts. That was impressive this late in the season. Obviously, the Bengals over the Chiefs. I think you're right there. Mine was Cardinals over Cowboys. I think we both talked about how impressive the Cowboys were the week prior, what they showed on defense, what they showed on offense. And it just seemed the Cardinals kind of had their number, kept them off the field. Kyle Murray is deadly. Reminds me a lot of you on 3rd and 2. Unstoppable on 3rd and 2.
Oh, man. And then, see, the one thing that I think that Prescott should do more, and maybe he should go back and watch this game and watch both sides of the ball, watch the offense and the defense, and watch what Kyler Murray did. The difference in the game was his ability to run the football in times of need. And
yeah, exactly.
It killed clock. It got first downs, and it made Dallas burn all their timeouts. And sometimes that's just needed, man. It's a necessity in the game of football on all levels, high school, college, pro.
In a 3rd and short, when your quarterback is such a threat, it just puts a slight hesitation that defensive end to completely collapse, because you watch it happen to Dallas 2 or 3 times. Kyle Murray pulls it, runs. He ran around not just the corner, which is normally the defensive end, but around the corner and the will linebacker all the way. Unbelievable.
Freezing zone read or whatever it is, or however you want it to look, or whatever you want to call it, that defensive end is key. You make the right read, you pick up yards.
And then Tampa Brady comes back and beats the Jets in New York, but that is not the story of Tampa Bay in New York. We talk about the most outlandish team things, but please, I'm just going to say the 2 words, Antonio Brown. Take it from there, Mike. What are we doing?
Antonio, look, we go back to our days in Pittsburgh. I didn't spend a lot of time with him, but me and him had a couple back and forth rips over me not getting him the ball, and rightfully so. Antonio had every right and had the liberty to speak out on certain things. And, I just thought it was a player who, and I know how receivers can be sometimes. Sometimes they're a little self-centered and they want to rock, and that's okay.
Thank you.
But as time goes on, as you grow older in this game, you become a role model for so many after you. And even in my situation, everything I've been through, I realized at some point that I was a role model. And the people who gave me an opportunity was giving me a second chance to become a role model, constant teammate, a better man, a better individual. And I think that's what Antonio Brown got to excel at right now. He got to become a better, if he get a chance to play again, and I know I said on First Things First that he might not never play again. Who knows? He might still play again. But use this as an opportunity to look yourself in the mirror and say, man, regardless of what's going on around me, I just got to be better. And I can overcome whatever said to me or whatever don't happen on the field. It's not that serious for me to degrade the game. You know what I'm saying? I can't think of too many people who would just walk off the field, man. The NFL is so good to us. They pay us and they give us opportunity to take care of our families for generations. And I think that need to be respected.
That's unbelievable. That's well said. I totally respect that. I don't even need to ask, have you ever seen anything like this? Because no one has. No one's ever saw a player kind of walk off in that type of fashion.
Man, that was sad. That was hard to watch.
Yeah.
Because you see an individual who, like, it's some struggle somewhere. And that's got to get cleaned up for sure.
I saw this a couple times in practice. I've certainly seen fights in practice. I've seen fights between players and coaches in practice. I've seen a guy throw his jersey at a coach in practice and never be brought back. I've never seen anything at a game like this. I think the thing that makes it funny is, and what's sad, because it's not funny in a lot of ways. It's funny in a lot of ways. You got to look at it from a lot of different perspectives. Is Bruce Arians immediately coming out there and say he's cut, he's off the team, right? They say that at Sunday. What, the game was done at 3:30. They're saying that at 4. They still haven't cut him. And I think that's the part that's like, that's now making headlines. Like he's at basketball games. He's partying with Fabulous. What are we doing here?
He hanging out. I mean, obviously he knows something that we might not know, so we can't speculate too much on it. I just wish him the best on all the courts, and I hope that this work out for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I hope Antonio Brown land on his feet somehow, some way.
I think everyone's looking for an amicable way out, I think is the easy way to say that, right? And that, like, maybe the NFL's hoping they can suspend him in some, the Bucs are hoping the NFL suspends him in some way so they don't have to pay him, but they don't have to release him and because they don't want, whatever the Green Bay Packers are picking up and have to face him in the playoffs or something like that. You think, Tampa is holding on to him for a reason. They're not just, and so I think that's the scary part of this situation, because it's funny that he's out there doing these things and you can make light of the situation, but it is a profession. And so everyone has an agenda, and Antonio Brown and his safety, his own health and well-being is not thought of as part of that agenda. And I think you touched on it really well, is he has a chance to be a role model here. And that's where he's really dropping the ball. That's sad to say. That's well said. I never really thought of it like that.
I mean, you got to understand, years from now, his family going to look back at, his actions and his character. And I still have to struggle with that and deal with that sometimes. I still have to go through that. In my mind, as a man, I care about that my kids they're going to read up on me. They're going to want to know what did daddy do to obtain a level of success and failures. And I respect that, so, I say all that for the betterment of Antonio Brown and, all individuals abroad who watching this, who might look at this situation and be confused like everybody else. Hey, man, look, it's not that serious. We all grew up, I know me and you, Dave, grew up wanting to play in the National Football League. And 95% of guys go through the league squeaky clean, never have a blip on their record, nothing happens, don't nobody go to prison, don't get arrested. And some guys, 5% of us, we fall into that trap where some things may happen, but when you get that second chance and people believe in you, man, you gotta appreciate that, you gotta respect that. And I say all that from that perspective. Antonio might not like what I'm saying, but I'm coming at him as a brother. And I feel like, even though I don't know what happened, it's always ways to make amends, bro. It's not that serious. We all millionaires out here.
I hear that. That's a perfect ending to that. I think the best part about that is saying you got to have that respect for the game. And we all have that amazing respect for the game. And now as you're getting into crunch time here, there's even more respect for the game, what's going on, trying to make playoffs, trying to change the direction of your franchise for the better. Our intriguing matchups of the week this week are two of these teams that have a chance to do that. You're talking about the Los Angeles Chargers and the Las Vegas Raiders, right? A Raiders team who is trying to solidify themselves in Las Vegas, a Chargers team who just moved up to Los Angeles trying to get in the playoffs. They're both a young and hungry team. They got weird situations with the coaching staff and the Raiders that they've overcome. The Chargers, in my opinion, are still trying to find their fit in LA. And these are two teams that are really battling out AFC West rivals. We talked a lot about the Chargers at the beginning of the year, and they kind of slipped, but they're making a comeback. Tell me about the season, if you've ever had that in your career where it's like everyone talked about us, no one wanted to talk about us. Now here we are again.
Oh yeah, no doubt. 2011, when I was with the Eagles, it was the year after I won Comeback Player of the Year, and we had an extraordinary year. A lot of things happened for us. We made it to the postseason, but got knocked out by Green Bay. They went on to win the Super Bowl. But we started out the next season. And shout out to my man Vince Young. Vince Young was like, we got the dream team. We had Nnamdi Asomugha, Rogers Kamadi. We was built on defense to win it all, built on offense to win it all. We signed Steve Smith, the other Steve Smith, not Steve Smith Sr.
Yep.
Steve Smith from USC.
Yep.
The slot, X, Z, everything covered. And man, we couldn't win a game to start the season out. I got hurt, and we was 4-8, and then we had to win 4 straight to end up 8-8, and we won the 4 straight, thank God, but we missed the playoffs. But man, I just know what that can be like when you put that pressure on yourself, where the season is peaks and valleys, and that's never going to change. It's always going to be like that unless you control it from the beginning.
And both of these teams are dealing with that. You got a Chargers team that's favored by 3 here, Los Angeles Chargers at Las Vegas to end the season. Here's a funny tweet about this situation, and we're reading about this. If the Colts lose to the Jaguars on Sunday, right? So Colts lose, the Raiders and Chargers would both get into the playoffs with a tie. So literally, their best option is to kneel down the entire game, just take a knee every time.
And
we both tie. Well, they have to have the Colts.
Unreal.
The Colts have to lose. They both get in. So I don't know if they can convince everybody to play like that, but it does get to something interesting at the end of these seasons when you talk about what is in your team's best interest, because it even talks about what is in these players' best interest. People are arguing over should Aaron Rodgers play. I remember we hosted the Patriots. This would have been week 17, but the 16th game of the season, 2009 or something, and Wes Welker tears his knee before the playoffs, and everyone goes apeshit. Aaron Rodgers touched it out on Manning Cast. I don't know if you were ever in that situation, but like last game of the season, a win or go home for some people is different, and other people are playing for nothing. Some people, what mentality, the different mentalities, how do you deal with that?
If you're playing for something, I say go get it. If you're playing for seeding, if you don't have that number 1 seed, it used to be the 1 and 2 where you get the bye. If you don't have that now, since it's just one game, then rest your starters, man. It's like a bye week. Get guys healthy, get guys brought back up to speed. You might have some young guys on the practice squad who might have to play. Get those guys ready, man, and not, regardless of what the competition in the playoffs, going to be ultra competitive, so you got to get ready for that. So I say rest those guys and get ready for whoever your opponent going to be. Start doing some scouting and scout a couple of opponents. That's what you got scouts for.
I always thought that's a way to go, because you look at just the amount of reps guys are getting throughout the season and how many your backups aren't getting and how useful those reps are going into the playoffs.
Right.
Maybe you treat it like a third preseason game or something. You play Aaron Rodgers the first quarter, then you pull him and get everyone else in there. But I do think there is something to that. I'm right there with you, especially because I think that even with this 17th game now, that it's even more wear and tear on these guys' bodies. So That'll be an interesting matchup. Obviously, both those teams aren't going to knee down as the Chargers are out in Las Vegas. Total 49 points. I see both these teams getting after it. I'm taking that over. I'm taking the Chargers against the Raiders, but that'll be definitely a really interesting matchup to see out there in the AFC West. But there are two division titles up for grabs. The AFC East and the NFC West have yet to be decided. So the AFC first. In the AFC, there are 5 teams trying to get these 2 wild card spots, right? So let me run down this for you really fast. You got the Titans, Chiefs, Bengals, Bills, and Patriots. Then we're talking about Colts and Chargers. It's a wild kind of situation here with this 17 weeks. First of all, Colts versus Jacksonville. No chance they drop the ball there, right? They're not looking past them.
No chance at all. No chance at all that they drop the ball on that one. I mean, they got annihilated last week, and that's probably going to happen again. The Colts going to look to get some get back. Okay, so Colts and Chargers. I didn't ask you. I should have. Do you like the Chargers over the Raiders? Or who do you like in that matchup? That's a good question. You know what? I like the Raiders in this matchup. The Raiders are at home, correct? Yep, Raiders are home. I like the Raiders in this matchup. I've been picking against them all year. Derek Carr, I've been, kind of criticizing him at some points in the season because I feel like this year you got to step up. I think Derek Carr get it done. Let's go, D. Okay. It doesn't really matter with Bills and Patriots and that whole situation because either way they're going to be playing each other and probably looks like a home or away home kind of situation. Bills have the Jets, Patriots. Miami always gives the Patriots those teams losing. Do you? I think both of those teams losing. I think for them going into the playoffs with some momentum is going to be very important. They're not going in after a loss will mean a lot to a lot of the guys on the team. So if that's the situation, the AFC East up for grabs, Bills end up capturing the AFC East. That'll give us the Titans at the 1 seed, Chiefs, Bengals, Bills, Patriots, and you just like you mentioned, Colts getting in, Chargers getting in. It'll be interesting to see exactly what happens there at the AFC. The NFC is a lot less cluttered with just 2 teams battling for the 1 wild card spot. It's fun to think that the 49ers and the Saints are battling it out there. Mainly because I was high on the 49ers early this year. Yeah, they had their ups and downs this season, but I like the way they fought back. It was good to see Trey Lance get out there last weekend. He didn't play well in the first 2 quarters, but he got it together in the second half, and they found a way to win. But I got to commend the San Francisco 49ers defense for keeping them in it all season because defenses win games and win championships. And the way Kyle Shanahan used Deebo Samuel all year, I think that was phenomenal. So that got them in this position. Good coaching all across the board on offense and defense for the 49ers. I think it's fun to see good coaching. I don't think is recognized early in the year, right? You can be like creative and have some stuff. You really see it come out towards the end of the year when teams have had enough time to scout you and your team's still disciplined, right? You see what Monday night, you saw the Browns still doing Browns type stuff, still hitting guys 3 yards outside the boundary, still doing stupid offside penalties, holding penalties. Like that is good coaching. Or bad coaching, and like that is overcome with good coaching, and that's just the frustrating thing to see about some of these teams. They don't get over that stuff, but it's also exciting to see in teams like the Niners, which makes you're exactly right. You see good coaching prevail. Yeah, it's all about growth, and some of the best teams are going to grow and get better throughout the season. And I like when I see that. You looking at that type of situation with the San Francisco 49ers, they just stayed in it. They fought hard all year, and now they got a chance. And every year, all you want is a chance. You can be a wild card team, get into the playoffs, and you just gotta need a ticket to the dance. Look at the New York Giants in those years where I think they dethroned us a couple of times, man. So it can happen. I don't think a team or a coach that gets enough credit is Sean Payton. Loses Drew Brees to retirement. You couldn't name all the quarterbacks that they play with this year. I couldn't. And they're still 8-8. I can. You can name all the quarterbacks? Yeah.
No, I won't. Not going to quiz you. But they could get in if they beat the Falcons. Who's starting for the Saints this week anyway?
Trevor Siemian.
If they get in, if they beat the Falcons and the 49ers lose the Rams, both things very likely that can happen. We'll get in a lot to this 49ers Rams talk here in a second. But tell me how impressive that is with Sean Payton. A, he got COVID, was out a game or two. Two, he's had 19 different quarterbacks starting. They're not playing in an easy division. And they're out there playing for a playoff spot where a lot of teams and coaching staffs just give up because they lost their marquee quarterback.
Yeah, it can happen. I think what makes a coach a marquee coach is his ability to coach each and every quarterback. So from Trevor Siemian to Jameis Winston to Ian Book last week,
you do know
they're getting the best of coaching. They're getting the best of coaching. And when you step into a building with Sean Payton and you see the success that Drew Brees has had, you saying to yourself, all I got to do is do a fraction of what Drew has done, and I can have some success and help this team win. So you got to hang your hat on that.
I've never been in those like Saturday night meetings where it's just the coach and the quarterbacks. Tell me a little about that. Like, what is that? Does that give you confidence before you step out there? Or what is it that makes those so different or special?
Well, in Philadelphia, we used to do ours the day before the game. So I came up in the West Coast system, Andy, West Coast system, Marty Morningwig, and then Greg Knapp. Rest in peace to Greg Knapp. When I was in Atlanta from 04 to 07, we did ours early in the day, Saturday morning instead of Saturday night. And then Saturday night, we'll just go through, here's our top two in every red zone category. So we broke it down from the 20 to the 15, and the 15 to the 10, the 10 to the 5, and 5 in. So, you're looking at these the 8 plays that you should hear once we get into these areas of the field, and then third down. And so I knew when it's 3rd and 6, my 3rd and 3 to 6, I picked these 2 plays. My 3rd and 3 to 6, I picked these 2. My 3rd and 1 to 3, I picked these 2. My 3rd and 7 to 10, I picked these 2. And the whole team know what's coming, because if they study, they know what I said in that meeting, that night meeting, and here's what's coming. So that's how you have success with everybody being on the same page.
I always wonder 2 things. A, is that conversation candid? So that you can say, hey, coach, you told me that was our top 3 and you only called one of them and you called these other 2 bullshit plays. So can you go back and forth a little bit?
Yeah, sometimes it becomes situational too, to a point where, okay, and when you hear the play call, that's why it's important for young quarterbacks to know why play call is coming in. When you hear that play call, I heard it because we getting a lot of zone. Or I heard it because we getting a lot of man. And we got a shallow cross, and all I got to do is stair step, whatever we practice. So the game becomes more about playing chess and not checkers, and that's the cool part about playing quarterback. And I think that has to be cool for every position, because not only do you have to out physical the man in front of you, you got to outsmart him too.
Two guys that have kind of, I think, evolved and really gone from coach player to this type of relationship that you're talking about is Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur. You talk about the audible system. You talk about Aaron Rodgers doesn't look uncomfortable anymore with some of the play calls, some of just the nonverbal communication that he has with the sideline. And that has definitely shown itself on the field, as right now the Packers are the favorite for the first time all year to win the Super Bowl at plus 400. They've steadily put it together. Like we always talk about, taking the season a quarter at a time. They're either 4-0 and 3-1 every 4 games, and they've just been whooping ass. And just like you mentioned last week, you thought they're impressive over the Vikings, because that Viking team hates the Packers. Do you like them as the favorites right now? Everyone's going to have to come through, or the NFC at least is going to have to go through Green Bay. Do you think that's a significant enough advantage to get them into the Super Bowl?
Absolutely. And if you hear Aaron Rodgers talk on the Peyton Manning podcast the game cast.
The Manning cast,
the Manning cast, I'm sorry. You heard Aaron Rodgers say, those is our conditions the other night versus the Minnesota Vikings. cold. He was like, I think it was like 9 degrees.
Yeah,
with
5 degrees or
5
something.
degree
Yeah,
wind
yeah.
chill or whatever it was. That's what they want.
Yeah.
And I think this year is going to be the year where teams going to come into the frozen tundra, man, and they're going to freeze. So I like them as the favorites. Not only that, but they playing good football, man. Every guy the other night in 1 degree weather was in sync. And that just don't happen. We got the Minnesota Vikings who got a dome now, they look cold. And everybody come this time of the year, they look cold. And you get one of them days where, man, it's 4 or 5 degrees wind chill with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, you're gonna lose the game. You're gonna lose the game hands down.
Yeah, that was always impressive when like you would see these warm weather teams go up there and beat Green Bay every now and then. I remember when I was on the Texans, we played them in 0 degree weather. They didn't give us a chance. The fans were extra nice to us. They thought we were gonna get our butt kicked. We actually went up there and beat them. Not even at 1/100th as meaningful as these playoff games are about to be. But when you look at the NFC, you got a bunch of warm weather teams going up there. The Niners, Cardinals, Cowboys, Bucks, and Rams.
Yeah.
Yes, if the Eagles win and move on, which I'm not going to put too much weight in, no offense to you, that's that you are right. They want it to be cold. They want to take advantage of that situation.
Not going to be easy. And then guess what? At the end of the rainbow, at the end of the road, they get to play in the Super Bowl in LA. Thaw it out. All the way thaw it out.
And in the AFC, there's a team that gets absolutely no respect and a team that gets absolutely a ton of respect no matter what they do. And that's the Kansas City Chiefs. The public loves the Kansas City Chiefs, still plus 500, barely behind the Packers, even though they couldn't get out of the way of the Bengals. And a team that continues to surprise everyone, the Tennessee Titans, that's going to looking likely to be the number 1 seed at plus 1,300. When I listened to Vrabel, he talked about being the most physical team out there. Right now, you're going to have to go to Nashville, which is not a fun place to play. It's tough. I've been there. It can get cold. And that's a physical football team built like Bill Belichick used to build them. Big, tough SOBs. Why is this team not getting any respect for what they've done and what they've overcame? And now they're likely to even get Derrick Henry back.
Yeah, they get lost in the AFC South. And they get shadowed by the Colts. And then people root for the Texans. And then when Tennessee win, it's like, oh, Tennessee won. They 2-0. Oh, Tennessee won. They 5-1. Oh, Tennessee won. They 8-3. And they at the top of the division with the number 1 rushing attack, and they playing some solid defense because they got a great coach in Mike Vrabel. So they kind of get lost a little bit around the league, but they got enough superstar players to turn heads, and I think that's what they did this season.
They're a sleeper for me. Like if you're betting on favorites to win the Super Bowl, I think the sexy pick is obviously you got to throw some money down on the Packers, but I like throw some money down on Tennessee. They remind me of those Patriots teams, like that one of the first Patriots teams that built like the beat the Rams, right? Where no one knew who Tom Brady was, and they all came out as a team, and they were just big. You know, they had all those big boys up front, Willie McGinnis running over people, just big humans that you didn't want to run into, played real physical. I think one of the more intriguing teams in this whole playoff thing. It's always fun to watch these Super Bowl favorites in these last couple of games of the season. But the NFC picture, we're going to get a much better understanding of that with our next guest here, Eric Dickerson. I'm excited as an LA native. I follow him on local television here all the time, so I'm excited to get Eric Dickerson's thoughts. And I know I'm really excited to dive into the 49ers and the Rams and the issues that these teams have in this divisional rivalry. And so we'll get to Eric Dickerson here. All right, everybody. We are here with a special guest. We always like to bring on a special guest. This man hails from Texas, now lives in California. I want to give you guys, if you don't know about ED, Mr. 29 in your program, number 1 in your heart. The thing that I find most sad about your stats, Eric Dickerson, or most exciting but sad to myself, is you had more catches your rookie year than I ever had in in any of my days as a slot receiver in the NFL, which sucks. 50. He had 51. He caught 51 balls as a rookie. That's unbelievable. 441 touches, 390 rushes. give the guy the ball and get out of the way. Eric Dickerson, thank you for joining
just
us.
No problem. No problem.
Absolutely. We the gaming society we always talk about. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry about that. What were you gonna say?
I'm sorry, man. I know you're the host, but a man of his stature, you gotta just give him the ball any way you can.
I agree. I agree. And you know what? I grew up in Los Angeles. We always talked about Dodgers, Lakers. It's really nice to have some football teams to talk about. I know you feel that way. And I know you've been answering this question. I've seen you on media, and I'm sure you're probably sick of it in a lot of ways. But I am interested, as a fellow receiver, your impression on what you think makes Cooper Kupp a good player, a good receiver, and just someone who has helped take this Rams team to the next level.
Well, I remember when Cooper Kupp got drafted to the Rams, and him and Jared Goff, that was his guy. You know, you could tell right off the bat they came in as rookies together. Cooper, you can tell, is a very smart receiver. I think he can play some quarterback. Runs very good routes. You know, if you think of an older guy, it kind of reminds me of Steve Largent a lot, to play for the great Hall of Fame quarterback who played for the Seahawks. Knows how to get open, knows where the soft parts of the defenses are, and when he gets the ball, knows what to do with it. I mean, and like Cooper's not a blazing fast guy, nothing like that, but he's such a smart receiver. He's really sure-handed, and I think that's what makes him special. I mean, I think that's why you see Matt Stafford picked up where Jared Goff left off. You know, that's his favorite receiver.
What is there an equivalent of that to a running back? Is there like the offense you really trust and love the offensive line, or like what is the? I mean, everyone always talks about that receiver quarterback relationship. When you were playing, is it just like, all right, I love my left guard, left tackle, and that's where I'm going to run? Is there an equivalent for a running back?
Well, yeah, in a sense it is. I mean, sometimes you like to run left or right. I mean, me, I really didn't care. I mean, because the Rams, we had such a good offensive line. You know, with certain plays I liked. I mean, for a running back, it's going to be the plays you like. You know, for me, It was 46 and 47 gap, toss right and toss left. You know, you don't see a lot of those plays. I saw 46 gap last night when Cleveland played Pittsburgh. I saw that play. I'm like, wow, that's 46 gap. You don't see what a guard and tackle pulls out. I think they pull the guard and the tight end around. And you can go inside or outside. That was my favorite play. I think that's the kind of the equivalent for a receiver, you know. But a receiver, you know, he has a relationship with the quarterback where, you know, our relationship is really with the offensive line of running backs.
Hey, you talking about relationships? So I got to get this in, Dave.
You're allowed to interrupt me as much as you want. You guys are the stars.
Wait, talking about Cooper Kupp a second ago. Is it fair to say that Cooper Kupp is a little bit bigger than what people think and a little bit quicker than what people think? Like he would come across as a smaller guy.
Yeah, Cooper's not. Yeah, right. That's a good.
I know you've been in their practice. I know you've seen them up close and personal.
Yeah, Cooper's not a little bitty guy. He's not like a 5'7" guy. Cooper's a well-built guy. You know, and he's a lot faster than you think. You know, and you see that on the field because, you know, a lot, just like yourself, Mike. I mean, people, you know, underestimate your speed, took the wrong angles, and I think that happens a lot with Cooper. You know, they take the wrong angles. You think, you know, I'm gonna run to where you're at instead of run to where you're gonna be. You know, I think that's what a lot of guys do with Cooper, and he just takes full advantage of it. Like in the game on Sunday, it was funny. I think he caught a swing pass. It was a check down. You could tell he was like maybe the third guy, maybe the second guy. It was a check down. I'd swing out the backfield, and the guy kind of pushed him like he was going to go out of bounds. Cooper stayed in bounds and picked up like another 15 yards. I mean, like I say, that's just being a smart player, a player that never gives up. I think that's what makes him, you know, such a dynamic player and such a great player. I mean, I got to say, man, I mean, his years here at the Rams, I mean, he's been great for us.
Now, how did you guys talk about when you went from 14, 16, you guys were breaking records. How do you feel now it's an extra game? Do you guys feel that these records they stand up? I know we always talk about like they kind of count, they kind of don't. I'm curious where you land.
Well, I'm like this, and I always say this is that when I broke OJ's record, I broke it in 15 games with one extra game, with a 16th game. And I always give him the credit because that was my favorite player. You know, so I always did that. I think anybody that plays football knows how hard it is to get records in this league. I mean, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
And I'm always give homage to guys that played before me because, you know, I think they deserve that. The guys now like Cooper Kupp, he just said that, you know, he doesn't, you know, he feels like it's it shouldn't be like that because they have an extra game. But and I appreciate that. But it's a record. It's a record that he didn't make the schedule. If they want to put an asterisk beside it, fine. But the thing is that if he breaks that record, I think he broke one already. But I think the receiving yards, it happens. I mean, that's how the game evolves. I really believe I may not be around to see it.
Yeah.
But I think eventually,
Yeah.
I think they will try to go to 20
yeah.
games. I think they'll try to have a 20-game season. That's what they
man.
really want. And I mean, Mike, man, it's hard. People don't realize how brutal that sport is. I mean, and I played running back when the time when they could really hit you, But yeah, I just feel like that the records they are what they are. I mean, because people are gonna say, "Oh man, we had another game." Hey, it is what it is. People ask me about it, breaking my record. I'm like, hey, if somebody breaks the record, they break it. Do I want it, bro? No, and I'm not gonna be that guy say, "Oh man, he had another game." Hey, that's football.
Records are made to be broken.
I don't know about that.
Mike Vick, do you think either of these records get broken? Do you think single season receptions or yards gets broken? The no minus 225, yes plus 175.
He won't get that this week. Whoever he playing against, regardless of the circumstance, won't allow him to go out and break the record against them.
That's true. And we
my recollection, I think it's the 49ers they play.
Yeah.
The 49ers, they're not going to let that happen. The 49ers need this game more than the Rams.
Yeah. All right. So, Dick, or Dickerson, where do you land with that?
What did he need? 130 or 131 yards?
130 yards. I'm wondering. You're the one who watches them all year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be tough. It could happen. I mean, it always depends on how you start off. Most of the times, when it comes to records, if you start off hot, if you can have a big catch for maybe like 50 yards or 60 yards in the first half, something like that, or if he has a half with, say, going half with like 70, 80 yards, he has a real shot at getting it. I mean, but I don't think right now, I don't think they're going to be trying to set a record. The most important thing is for the Rams to try to win and have some home field advantage, win the division. I mean, because if we win and Arizona wins, we win the division. If we lose and they win the division. So I think that's the most important thing. I think any player would say that. But saying all that to say this, I don't think he'll get it this week. I mean, because we hate San Francisco. They hate us, and it's gonna be a tough game. We haven't beat them in the last, I think, 4 or 5 tries. I mean, and I think that's a slap in the face because McVay, I know he wants to beat Mike. I mean, he wants to meet Shanahan, but Mike Shanahan for sure, because Shanahan.
Kyle Shanahan.
Kyle Shanahan. I'm sorry, that's his dad. Kyle Shanahan.
Sorry, they're all in the they're all in the family.
Same football family.
Yeah, they're football family. He wants to beat him because Kyle Shanahan was possibly going to be our coach. He was going to probably possibly be the coach here, but they had the Super Bowl in Atlanta, and the Rams didn't want to wait, so they went on and brought McVay in and interviewed him, and he got the job. So I think that Kyle Shanahan kind of enjoys every time they go out. Like you said, we haven't beaten the Niners yet. With Kyle Shanahan. So I know that sticks in McVay's craw.
And like you mentioned here, tons of scenarios. Rams are minus 350 to win the division. Arizona plus 260. So the real question comes down to the public thinks that the Rams can win this division. But Dickerson and Vic, you guys bring up some really interesting points. These divisional games where you've had trouble with these opponents for a long time. I mean, it reminds me of the Texans when I was there. We couldn't beat the Colts for the life of us. How much does that really get into a guy's head and get into a coaching staff's head and a player's head? Like, hey, we need to win this game or we're not in. Or, I mean, we're not winning division. Yeah. Do you think that's a big factor? Because it doesn't look like the public's factoring it in with this minus 350 line.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's a factor when you play a team and you struggle. And I think everyone has played that team that they struggle with. When I played, that team was the New England Patriots. I mean, we couldn't seem to beat them. I mean, they beat us one time on a Hail Mary, last play of the game, and we need that game to win the division. I mean, it's certain teams that you struggle with. I mean, they could be bad, but for some reason they match up really well with you, and you can't stop them. And for us, for the Rams, the last couple of outings against San Francisco, we can't stop the run against them. We can't stop their running game. I mean, the last time we played them several months ago, Kyle Shanahan said he wanted to run the ball 40 times. Well, he came out and ran it 44 times. So and control that game. I mean, so that's a must. That's one thing we must do. We must stop this running game that they have. If we do that, and another thing, we cannot be doing the turnover thing. I mean, I just got to call it like I see it. I mean, I'm glad we got Matt Stafford, but he cannot be turning the ball over. Because when you turn the ball over in these kind of games, it's gonna cost you.
I was gonna say to Eric, how about stopping Deebo Samuel too? Like he coming full force. That's gonna be a good game. That's a lot riding on it. We'll see how the Rams play it, and if they come out and take it serious. But in my divisional game, Carolina, I felt like I owned when I was in Atlanta, and I think I went 4 years without even losing to those guys. And then but the Bucks always, Eric, the Bucks kept me from winning the Super Bowl. The reason I don't have a ring on my finger, on one of these fingers, is because of the Bucks. And they had Rondé Barber, and shout out to Rondé, and then Derek Brooks, and John Lynch, and Simeon Rice, and Booker McFarlane, and then they had Brad Johnson, who was, a savvy veteran, and Michael Pitts, and a bunch of guys who was just, they all came together at the right time, I feel like. So the Bucks gave us fits, and then Carolina owned. The Saints was always the biggest rival. So a divisional game is going to always be tough. And that's just the way it's always going to be. Eric, you know that.
Man, I'm telling you, you're so right, because I think about the days back when we played the Niners and they were winning Super Bowls. I mean, really, we were matched up pretty evenly. They had in certain areas they had more talent. Especially on offense. They had Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. Even though we had Henry Elliott, which was, to me, he was the best route runner in football at that time.
Thanks for joining us, Eric. This is the Gaming Society, man, and we appreciate you hopping on and your knowledge and your intel of the game, and especially with the Rams. We'll see how it play out, not in Week 18, but in the postseason. Thanks for joining us.
Fantasy football is over for us, unfortunately, Mike Vick. We were out last week, and the commissioner won. Paul Taitlebu defeated Chelsea by 5 points. And you know who gave him those 5 points? Antonio Brown. So I think we need to throw a little coup, and we need to throw some veto shade on Taitlebu on Sleeper. And we need to try to take that back and give it to Chelsea. Somehow we need to cause some chaos here with 1 week left in the season. But congrats to Taitlebu in beating. But this is not over. We're gonna take this to the courts. Our fantasy league champions at the sleeper division ends up being the commissioner, which I always think is bullshit.
Same here. I'm just going to let it go. I'm on to the next.
And on to the next. What we do after fantasy football is our all-in bets. Mike, like I said, you're 7-5. I'm 6-6. I got a chance to catch you if you lose. Who do you like this week for your all-in bet of the week?
My all-in bet of the week. Let me see. Who's our matchups? What's the matchups, man? I think I'm gonna go with the 49ers. My all-in bet. I'm gonna go with the 49ers over the Rams.
I like it. For even more reasons than what we heard earlier from Eric Dickerson, what's going on with the 49ers and the Rams and all the bad blood there. I'm riding with the Bengals. You know what? Like, I think they're going to pound the Browns. The Browns look depressed out there. They didn't look motivated. They were playing bad football. This is the type of game where the Browns are just trying to get out, where their best players are just trying not to get hurt. You know what I mean? They're not going to go hard. They don't want to do that. And the Bengals are playing for a lot more. They got a chance, obviously, to win. They won the division, but got a chance to do some things over there. I like what the Bengals are doing. I think their players are going to be playing motivated, where the Browns players are kind of cashing it in. So my all-in pick is the Bengals to cover. You got Mike Vick with the 49ers. I like it right off the bat. Don't have to stress about that. But when you talk about not stressing Mike Vick, got to talk about our new bourbon off hours here. And I know we always enjoy an off hours segment because we don't have to talk football. Yeah. I get to take, as David would say,
it's the off hours.
I get to take a deep breath. I get to not stress about getting through the show Instead, I get to ask you a silly question about life in general. Two popped out here today. We might do two. We might do one. It doesn't matter. Ooh. Okay, I like this. What is your go-to travel routine on game day? Meaning, what are you listening to? What are you watching to? What is your game day pregame routine?
My game day pregame routine. When I play, somehow, some way, especially early in my career, because I'm very superstitious. So I'm gonna let people in on this. I want to get my energy up. I didn't want to eat a lot. And we had a very nice spread in Atlanta, by the way, before we played the game.
Like that. What hotel did you stay at?
In Atlanta, I think we stayed with Georgia Tech. Stayed like the Georgia Tech Hilton and Marriott or something.
Okay.
Atlanta, we stayed like a Marriott.
Right.
But I always kept a Snickers in my back pocket. I always ate a Snickers before the game because I felt like I needed a little chocolate, needed some
potential sponsor. Come on now.
I mean, come on. I mean, I had to eat a Snickers. I might eat a half of it. First and second quarter, after halftime, I eat the other half, and then that's what got me through the game. And I used to finish the game starving. I used to wear like whatever, how many calories was in that Snickers? Maybe like 350. I was busting that down.
You didn't eat a proper square meal before a game, like just a small.
I didn't like the. I ate a little pasta, because that gives you energy and the starch in it, and then I had a Snickers on deck just to get my juices flowing and kind of make me crazy.
Did you have any lit, like, now I'm assuming Atlanta, they let you drive, let vets drive, rookies or undrafted guys had to take a bus or something, or what was the situation to go to the stadium?
No. You pull up.
Okay.
In the whip. Yeah.
You pull up in the whip. What do you listen to? Anything superstitious there?
Oh man, I mean, with all the amazing artists in Atlanta, I went through the T.I. phase where I pumped T.I. I pumped Jeezy, I pumped Outkast, especially early.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Outkast early. Ludacris, Gucci Mane. I was living in the times, and then Two Chainz started to emerge. Like, it was a bunch of like.
So no routine there. You just rolling up with whatever you felt.
And I was rocking with my dudes from up north. You know what I mean? It was a lot of Jadakiss to 50 Cent. That was a mixed bag. Jay-Z, obviously, you know, a bunch of those dudes, man.
Pre-game meal for me: pasta, French fries, cheese, tomatoes. Yes. Then pre-game meal, I ate the oatmeal, and I had a big bowl of fruit, which is my substitute for the Snickers. But not gonna lie, I also had a bag of Reese's Pieces in my locker, and I would throw down as many of those as I needed in order to get some extra energy. I normally would have probably some sort of weird drink that one of the linebackers would make me that would get me an extra hyped every now and then if I needed one. But the thing that always threw me for a loop that took me about a year to figure out was a stretch routine, because Coach Kubiak, we didn't stretch as a team. You stretch on your own and go play. So It took me about a year to develop that routine. So for all of you out there, that is that was the thing that kind of threw me for a loop.
Yeah, we did that with Dan Reeves too. We didn't stretch before the game. We stretched and not as a team, we stretched before the game.
Yeah, just get it in. Yeah,
just get it in and go.
Off hours. If you haven't tried it, you got to go get it. Call your local liquor store, get some. It's a bourbon. We're going to be tasting a lot of this over the playoffs. We're going to be having some really cool activations out here during Los Angeles during the Super Bowl. Can't wait to show you. I actually had 3 gold rushes on New Year's Eve, and thought of you, Mike Vick. My wife gave me a lot of crap, but I'm David Anderson. That's Mike Vick. This is the Gaming Show, Gaming Society Show. See you guys later. Make sure to sign up and subscribe at thegamingsociety.com and hit that follow button at The Gaming Society on all social platforms.